Hey, what's up guys? This is Jedith, and this is another Havoc Demon Hunter update video going over the new rework and a lot of the updates that we've been getting to the class. They've been coming in week by week, and I've been trying to put out videos covering each new update that we've been getting, but the past couple have been kind of smaller in size and just a few changes here and there. So I thought I would wait, give it a couple weeks, and then come back and actually be able to make a larger video, kind of summarizing the past few weeks, which is a good sign, because Havoc is doing really well on the PTR right now. We've only gotten some slight nerfs, I don't even want to call them nerfs. We're going to call them balancing changes, tuning, things to just kind of bring us back into line with some of the other classes, because there was a point probably a couple weeks ago that we were doing upwards of 25-30% more damage than any other class on the PTR. So some nerfs were to be expected. We shouldn't be freaking out when we see them. It's better that we get these nerfs now than getting them later on. We're going to go over these today. They're not all nerfs, by the way. There are some actual like hidden gems in here that might not be completely obvious to the average reader. And then there are also some changes that did happen behind the scenes that weren't even in these patch notes. Let's start here. So Demon Hunter enemies necessary now correctly shows the same % value before and after talenting into it. I guess that was a thing that was happening. They've corrected that, just a tooltip error. Cycle of Binding now works with precise sigils. That's just for vengeance as well. Inertia now triggers correctly after using Immolation Aura twice before using Fell Rush. So what was happening with this was, so anytime you press Immolation Aura, you get Unbound Chaos. When you spend your Unbound Chaos, that's what gives you the inertia buff. But what was happening was if you pressed Immolation Aura and then pressed Immolation Aura again, because we have 2 charges, then spending the Unbound Chaos after you use that second Immolation Aura, it was not providing you with the inertia buff. So they changed that. That was the most that we got in this update here. A lot of these changes were just for vengeance, kind of increasing their damage, which they desperately needed because they were doing absolutely no damage. Let's go to this one. This is the same thing. Enemies necessary. They fixed that tooltip error. And now here, so this is a confusing change that happened, right? Let me see if I can explain this properly. There was a change to Rage Fire where each time Immolation Aura deals damage, 35% of the damage dealt by up to, used to be 3 critical strikes, got changed to 10. So on first glance, this might look like a buff, right? Because 10 is a higher number. But how it was working before was by up to 3 critical strikes per tick were being gathered by Rage Fire. There is a maximum of 10 critical strikes that you could bank. So up to a max of 10. So what was happening when it got changed to 10 was that you were getting just 10 max, and that's where it was stopping. And it wasn't giving Growing Inferno enough time to allow each Immolation Aura tick to kind of, grow in damage, meaning the damage being put into your Rage Fire was smaller than it would have been previously. This came through on the PTR, and right away, the devs were like, no, this is not supposed to happen. This will get fixed. And it did get fixed. I think the next day, maybe 2 days after, they went back. They changed the tooltip. Rage Fire is working how it used to, okay? No need to panic. Rage Fire is back to cranking on the meters just how it used to before any of this ever happened. Don't worry, Rage Fire is fixed. Then we come to this update. Immolation Aura damage reduced by 8%. This does kind of suck to see, but you do have to remind yourself that there are times where we're getting upwards of 5 Immolation Auras rolling at one time. We're getting 5 Immolation Auras at one time. Not all the time, but there is the chance of that happening. So it does make sense that they need to roll that back just a little bit to make sure that it doesn't just go absolutely haywire. The majority of our damage is just coming from passive ticking damage from Immolation Aura. If you saw any footage from the PTR of Havoc gameplay, you would know that the Immolation Aura damage that we were doing was our highest damage percentage on the damage breakdown. It was out of control. So I definitely understand why they needed to reduce this. But like I said, it's not a nerf. We don't call them nerfs when they're on the PTR. It's tuning and it's balancing. Sigil of Flame duration increased by 2 seconds. I think this is to compensate for that talent that got taken away. I forget what it was called. There was a talent that was increasing Sigil of Flame by 2 seconds. So I think this is just compensating for that. And now Havoc, Demon Hide magic damage bonus reduced to 4% was 5%. Again, on first glance, this looks like it is a nerf. Magic damage bonus reduced by a whole %. So while this is a nerf, there is something happening that isn't mentioned here, which is the fact that the magic damage bonus on this talent, magic damage increased by 5%, this is not applying to any of our dots when it should be. So what do we have for dots? We have Burning Wound, we have Soul Scar. This is a big one. We have things like the Hunt. The Hunt puts a dot on enemies, and that dot is getting extended in length with our 4-piece tier set. We have things like Trail of Ruin. All of these things, once this gets fixed behind the scenes, all of these things are going to be buffed by an extra 5%. So while this is being reduced by 1%, all of these other things are getting kind of bumped up by an extra 5%. Hopefully they fix that soon. That hasn't been implemented on the PTR yet. They have acknowledged that it is a problem and it is happening. So looking at my notes here, there are a few other things we need to go over. With the Vengeance tree, where they buffed Fell Devastation damage increased by 30%. Now this does actually apply to Havoc as well. When we get Collective Anguish and we press our I-beam, we get a Demon Hunter spawning that casts Fell Devastation. And it is still the same spell ID, so that extra 30% damage that Vengeance is getting on their Fell Devastation, we are also getting in our Collective Anguish. Just something to make note of. Versatility no longer double dips on Soul Scar. Let's look at versatility first. Versatility increases the damage done by your abilities, right? So the way that Soul Scar works is you throw a glaive, a portion of the damage that glaive does gets converted into chaos damage as a dot on the enemy. So the damage Throw Glaive was doing was being amplified by versatility. And then that amplified damage that we were getting when we pressed Throw Glaive was then being amplified again by versatility when it went into our Soul Scar dot. So we were double dipping on verse. And that's why you were seeing things like if you saw Blackrook hold on the PTR on the last boss, when that last boss gets to the second phase, you as a player get a buff on you that increases all your stats by like, I don't know how much it is, but your verse goes through the roof. Soul Scar was like your top damage by like a mile. Like it was doing insane, like 25 million damage in one boss fight. And that's why, because it was double dipping from the versatility. So that has been fixed. So now it's not double dipping, which does make versatility lose a little bit of value for us in terms of damage. But in terms of the survivability and just the general usefulness of versatility as a stat, I think it still remains the same. It was just this one kind of like buggy thing that was giving it a little extra value. Yeah, so what do all of these changes mean? If we summarize everything that we just talked about, all the things we looked at, what does it mean for us as a class or as a spec going into 10.2? Not much. Not much. Like these changes are accounting for a couple percent here and there. On single target, it's like 1% difference. AoE, maybe a little bit more, like 2%. But ultimately, Havoc is doing a lot of damage on the PTR. In terms of like Mythic Plus, you'll see them at the top of the meters pretty consistently. Outlaw Rogues will give them a run for their money, but overall, like Havoc is just doing really, really well, and we don't need to worry about these nerfs at all. Again, I don't want to call them nerfs. Let's call them balancing, tuning, whatever. Just bringing things in line, because like I said, we want to get these nerfs now instead of letting them build up. Then, you know, scaling starts to happen with us. Once we actually get into 10.2 and we start getting gear, then things start to scale out of control. If we don't tackle these now, then we're going to be getting like massive nerfs coming into the end of this patch, right? We don't want that. We want to get things under control now, so we have a smooth ride throughout the rest of the patch. That's where I'm going to leave it. These nerfs don't have to, you know, concern you at all. You don't have to worry. That's the last update I'm going to give in terms of the Havoc Demon Hunter rework. The patch is coming out in like 2 weeks. Keep an eye out on this channel for guides for 10.2. I have plans to do a general like Havoc Demon Hunter 10.2 guide, kind of just going over everything. I'm going to have videos for specific builds. I'm going to have videos going over specific like talents and how you can use them to your advantage. Also, before I let you guys go, just want to let you know that I'm going to be streaming here on YouTube a lot more often now, because I guess Twitch is allowing us to multi-stream on Twitch and other platforms. So if you don't already sub to this channel, make sure you sub. You can even hit the bell notification. That'll let you know when I post a new video and when I go live. So, you know, if you're the type of person that doesn't really watch Twitch and you just kind of hang out on YouTube, perfect opportunity for you to start catching me live. If you have questions or things aren't clear, you can pop by and ask me directly. More than happy to talk to you. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like the video, sub to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Peace.